Hello, in this short A-level revision film, we're going to get to grips with scales and modes. So a scale is a collection of notes placed into an order. If we place all of the notes of the Western scale in pitch order, we have a chromatic scale. The most commonly used scales in Western music are major and minor scales. So every major scale has got the same pattern of tones and semitones. And there are 12 major scales, one for each note of the chromatic scale. Every minor scale has got the same pattern of tones and semitones, different to the major scales, but the same for every minor scale. And that exotic sounding ending is when we raise the seventh. You don't have to raise the seventh, it depends on the context and the phrase that you're playing. From Baroque times until the 20th century, most composers wrote in a key and used major and minor scales. Their music was tonal. During the Romantic period, music got increasingly more chromatic, but it was still tonal. Then, in the 20th century, composers started to experiment even more, and some of them wrote without being in a key at all. Their music was known as atonal. Impressionist composers like Debussy were amongst the first to start experimenting. Debussy, for instance, was rather fond of the pentatonic scale. This can be found by playing the black notes of the piano. And this is very similar to the notes that are naturally present on the gamelan. That's why Debussy liked it. And he uses it at the beginning of his piece Pagels to make the piano sound like the gamelan. Another scale that crops up from the 20th century onwards is the whole tone scale. Now this is made up of just tones, no semitones. And that gives it a kind of magical open sound. Here's it used by Debussy in his piece Pagels. And here Debussy uses the whole tone scale in his piece An Evening in Granada. Vaughan Williams uses the whole tone scale in On Wenlock Edge, but he also uses traditional modes. So a mode is found by playing one octave of white notes. So there's a mode between D and D, a different mode between E and E, and on and on. Each white note has its own mode with a unique set of tones and semitones. Once composers started using these alternative scales and modes, they were freed up from following the rules of harmony. So they didn't have to establish a key or use modulations and cadences, and that's what made these scales and modes so appealing. Thank you for watching this short A-level revision film. You can find more of them on our YouTube channel.